Lately, I've been thinking a lot about the stories we tell ourselves and how they're often so incorrect. This applies to every aspect of our lives. We tell stories about our personality, the identities we carry, our capabilities and limitations, our fears, and even where we're allowed to exist and how we're supposed to show up. And they're just that, stories. There's no handbook with our name on page 96 with a description, a factual statement about who we are. No, we create that description every day by who we say we are with our actions. We are the storyteller. The reason I was thinking about this is I recently turned 32 and I'm slowly seeing some of the stories that I've carried for a long time slowly falling away. Definitely not leaving, but they are fading. Tiny little bits of fading. Here's an example. One of those narratives I held was that I'm not a good speaker. Auditorily, I just have a crackly, high-pitched, nasally voice, and then intellectually, I just don't have a big vocabulary. I'm from Mississippi, so obviously I sound poor and country. I stammer, I get nervous, I freeze. I don't have a way with words. I don't have a stage presence at all. I'm terrified of the stage. All of those things. Just flat out, I'm not a speaker. That's the story that I've had my whole life. And it's interesting because obviously we know that we can learn skills. I know in my conscious mind, like I could take public speaking classes and get better, but we don't really think like that. We think very emotionally, and that part of my personality just feels or felt very static and permanent. However, this belief slowly, like turtle, sloth, granny at the mall type slowly, is changing. It all started with taking a class in 2016 where I was going to get certified to teach English in Korea. And the final test of this class was to give a teaching sample presentation to the class. I was so incredibly nervous as usual, but this class was pretty small and I felt comfortable. Somewhat comfortable. The teacher truly made us feel open to be ourselves. So this was kind of the perfect soup of an environment for me to start changing this belief. So presentation day came, I was very nervous, but I decided to just jump right into my presentation. It was right after a bathroom break and people hadn't even finished coming back into the classroom. I just went for it and I wanted to get a head start before people got in there, and I actually felt really good. I filmed myself, and because this teacher was so encouraging and just smiling and like her eyes were lighting up at different moments. And again, the bar was very low. Like this wasn't the best presentation, but she was so encouraging and she gave me great feedback, and I just felt good about it for the first time in my entire life about any sort of speaking presentation. And it was around this time that I also learned this simple trick that I wish they had told us like 30 years ago. I don't know why they don't tell us this in like school settings, but focusing on the message that you're delivering, focusing on like the third party thing, which is the teaching, not focusing on myself, that will really get you out of your head. And instead of focusing on like how you look or sound, like us narcissists do, you just focus on the audience and like the content and sort of delivering this other message. And don't worry, I'll bring this back to painting in a moment. But yeah, then after that class, I got a boost of confidence. And, later I ended up getting my first sort of professional job a few years ago. It was all remote, but I still had to speak on Zoom and in meetings and all of that. And again, it comes back to these angels, these people that can say one thing in your life and change the whole trajectory. So I had a boss and she would tell me like, you seem so confident. You're a superstar. You're just brilliant. And I realized the power of compliments, of mentorship, of someone believing in you when you don't see it in yourself, telling people what they're good at and what you see in them, and, seeing the best version of them. It's so, so powerful. I didn't really grow up with anyone doing that necessarily. Like, obviously I was told, I love you and you're amazing, but it wasn't specific. Like, I see you. I see your soul, I see your abilities, like I'm paying attention. Like it wasn't that type of compliment, the super meaningful ones. So I needed to hear those. because then I could kind of hold those specific compliments inside me and then give that to myself later and keep perpetuating that idea, empowering myself, because I now had that proof in those specific words from others. It didn't have to come from me. So if someone else said it, it must be true. And then there were other small things like my boyfriend saying he loves my voice, or I'm good at writing, a stranger telling me, oh, I love that YouTube video, or someone telling me, you're really smart, you're really good at that. And then this all culminates to, this past few weeks at my day job, I've been asked to record some videos and voiceovers. And, my boss has been loving the voiceovers that I created for her. So I'm literally being paid and asked to do things with my speaking voice, the one that I thought was not worthy of doing any such thing at all in that realm. And it's just really cool because a fact that I thought was a hard truth is now flexible, malleable, literally changing like putty in front of me. I now think, hey, I'm kind of good with words and speaking and coming up with written copy and delivering and having charisma in some way in that area. And this is all really new to me. Wow. And okay, I'm clearly no Morgan Freeman, let's be real. But the reason I talk about all of this is it's so relevant to art making and making time for creating and thinking we can sell our art and posting about our art and sharing our art, trying new methods or branching out on painting. These acts take so much courage, and we really only get courage when we tell a story that we are courageous, right? And I'm just here to say that whatever story you're telling yourself right now about who you are, how good at art you are, how much people will like or buy your paintings, how much time you have to create your art, if you can become an artist or not, the things holding you back, excuses to not create, all of those are fiction and they're subject to interpretation. And I so challenge you to question these narratives. I will say, though, I don't think you can simply will these narratives away either. I really believe in this concept of mood follows action, or doing before feeling. Essentially, these stories will only change if you change. The only reason the narrative about my speaking voice changed in my head is because I had to do, or I chose to do, scary things to kind of get over that belief, whether it was talking in a meeting where I was terrified and then actually getting through it and hearing the recording and being like, oh, I didn't sound that bad, or making a YouTube video even though I didn't think that it was going to be that good, but just trying it out and using my speaking voice and just sort of jumping into these situations. So, you can sit and meditate and try to eliminate these stories in your head, but I don't think that's going to do as much as taking the actions that a person would take who does the things that you want to do. So I've started asking myself, what would a full-time artist do today? Well, she'd definitely paint at least 1 to 2 hours. She'd definitely upload her work to her website and Instagram. So if you want to be that full-time artist, you have to kind of do the actions that person would take. If you want to be a good speaker, you have to speak, right? You have to write and work on the delivery and all of that. You can't just wish to be something and then eventually you'll feel like it and want to do those things. No, you have to do, and then you feel. If I waited for motivation every time I worked out, I would never work out. I usually work out and then I feel the motivation to continue the momentum. And then you get to watch as these stories mold and change, and you can bottle that momentum up and channel it to keep going and, pushing you forward. So I just want you to remember that you are a brilliant superstar and there is a seat at the table for you. Whatever table you want to be at, there's room for you. Your fears are false. They're a unicorn. The false stories that you believe are not really what others see in you. They see a lot more. And we're all cheering you on, and we all want you to be the thing that you want to be. Okay, well, there is my chat for the day. I hope you have a great day, and make sure you go and change those stories that you're telling. They're not true, and remember to take the actions that, a person would take, even if you don't feel like that person yet. I'm gonna shut my mouth when you say what's on your mind.